Wild Bill disliked working with women because they took so long to get ready for each shot. Clara Bow proved to be exasperating for the easily annoyed director. Jobina Ralston was much easier to deal with.
Women didn't want to work with me, because I wouldn't let them wear makeup. They said, well, what'll we do? I said, make up the way you would if you were going to go out and have lunch with someone. But then my lines will show. I said, you're damn right they'll show.
Freelance actress Jobina Ralston won the plum-featured role of Sylvia Lewis in Wings. Sylvia Lewis is in love with Richard Arlen's David, but is pursued by Roger's Jack Powell, although she hasn't the heart to tell him that she only loves David. Born in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee in 1899, Jobina was groomed for a show business career by her overbearing mother. At age 21, she was persuaded to go to Hollywood. After a string of 65 films, including 25 in 1922 alone, she landed the role of Sylvia, opposite Richard Arlen. Jobina and Richard fell in love in real life, and they would be married later that year. They divorced in 1945. Ralston made a dozen more films after Wings, but her career was ultimately cut short by the talkies and a noticeable lisp. She died in 1967.
Now that the main cast was set, supporting players were next on the list. There were 15 roles to be cast. A small but important role was that of Cadet White, a pilot who would end up dying, setting the tone for the rest of the picture. Wellman wanted someone special for that role, not just anyone. A 25-year-old Gary Cooper was chosen to take the part, which made him an overnight star. Wellman took pity on the struggling, broke actor and shot his scene near the end of principal photography. Coop was on salary and was kept around until his scene was filmed, giving him a stable income, at least for a little while.
Gary Cooper and Richard Arlen and I were all pals. But Gary Cooper didn't stay long with us. He just had one scene in Wings. But boy, that one scene was so great, he did it so magnificently that he just took that whole picture away from all of us.
There was a knock on the door, and I yelled, come in, and in came Coop. And he called me Mr. Wellman. I was 29 years old. And he said, Mr. Wellman, couldn't I do that scene over again? I said, look, Coop, you're the only one who could get away with this in the whole troupe. I'd tell everybody else to go to hell. But you must remember this. I'm going to give you a little lecture. I know my job. I'm your mirror, you, the actor. You don't know what you're doing. I do. I see it. I'm your mirror. I know it was good. It was great, or I wouldn't have printed it. But just because I'm interested, I'm curious, because of you. He was getting a little scared. I said, tell me why you didn't like it. He said, well, in the middle of the scene, I picked my nose. I said, listen, you son of a bitch, you keep right on picking your nose, and you'll pick your nose into a fortune.
Cooper knew Wellman was right. He thanked the director for his time and left.
For another supporting role, that of Miss Armstrong, David's mother, actress Hedda Hopper was chosen. A veteran of 50 films, Hedda would go on from Wings and act in a further 90 films before becoming a famous, or infamous, gossip columnist until her death in 1966. Producers Lucien Hubbard and B.P. Schulberg were growing angrier by the minute. They had been working for months on Wings when Wellman came in and started to change things.
Wellman and the producers frequently fought over the film, but Wellman thought that it was his film and he wouldn't take a back seat to anyone. This was his big chance, and he didn't want it to get away.
I hated producers. The bigger they were, the more I hated them. And I had a reputation for hating them, and they didn't like me, but I made money for them.
They reluctantly agreed to let Wellman be, for now. The producers held back and took care of the budget, to the tune of a staggering $2 million, a phenomenal sum in those days. Wellman needed that much money to make Wings with the production values he thought the film deserved. It made Wings the most expensive film produced up to that time. Edith Head, Paramount Studios' world-famous costume designer, got her first big break outfitting all of the flyboys in soldier suits on Wings. Although she had worked in several other pictures, she was always uncredited. She was uncredited on Wings as well, but it was her first job as head costumer.
Edith decided that Paramount would be a good place for her to get a job because she saw women working there, but she couldn't draw at all. Howard Greer was the costume designer at Paramount, and he taught her how to draw like he drew. But very quickly she started being very, very useful all around the wardrobe department. And in 1925, another designer named Travis Banton came out from New York. Eventually, Howard Greer decided to leave because all of the big stars were asking for Banton. And Banton was enormously talented. However, without Greer there, he started handing some of the lesser assignments to Edith to do. Banton didn't get along too well with Clara Bow. Clara Bow was Paramount's biggest star, and the public adored her, but she had very poor taste in clothes. She liked to wear bangle bracelets with all of her costumes. She wanted to put belts on dresses that weren't supposed to have them. She even wanted to wear high-heeled shoes with ankle socks. And so Banton turned Clara Bow over to Edith to dress. And the most famous picture they did together was Wings, in which Clara Bow wore a uniform through most of the film.
Edith Head was nominated for the Best Costume Design Academy Award 35 times during her career, winning 8 Oscar statues, or about 25% of the time. This makes her the most nominated woman in Academy history. Edith wasn't nominated for costumes on Wings. The category was non-existent until 1948. Just think, however, how many awards and nominations she may have earned had the category been around from the start. Edith's last win was in 1973 for the period drama The Sting, starring Robert Redford and Paul Newman.
With the budget greenlit and casting finished, Wellman turned to selecting a location. San Antonio, Texas was chosen because, at the time, many believed it would become the new Hollywood. The film would be shot at Kelly Field, Camp Stanley, and other locations around the city.
Military camps were used because writer John Monk Saunders helped secure government support of the picture, to the tune of some $16 million worth of servicemen and equipment.
Servicemen came from all over, including Michigan, Virginia, and California.
Both the Army and Air Force supplied troops and weaponry.
The United States government, which had failed to get a single American-built plane into action, supplied squadrons when Paramount made the film.
Everything was ready to begin filming. Wellman shot for 2 months, but decided to throw it all away, every last frame, because he disliked what he saw.
The flying scenes looked phony and unattractive.
Wild Bill refused to shoot anything until the clouds came in. Clouds, Wellman said, created the illusion of speed and made everything look more dramatic. While Wellman waited, the producers were about ready to fire him and hire someone else who would shoot today. They were tired of losing money. Their anger towards Wellman was about to reach critical levels. While delays in shooting caused by the weather were costly, Wellman took advantage of this by shooting some close-ups and other pickup shots.
Close-ups in my pictures you'll find are very sadly missing, because to me a close-up is an exclamation point. And if you don't use it for that, then you've lost it. But if you use it for it, it's a great thing from a directorial standpoint, because then when you do use them, they mean something.
One of the big stumbling blocks holding up shooting, besides the weather, was filming the aerial stunts, most of which had never been tried before. Up to then, aerial photography had been met with limited success. Wellman wanted to one-up the best that had been done, and he did so magnificently.
When I first started Top Gun, I said there's a master shot that I've got to get, which is the master shot in Wings, which is the major dogfight in the beginning of the movie in Wings. And I think they had 8 aircraft all in the air, and they all felt like they were within touching distance of each other, and they're all twisting and swirling and ducking and diving. I was amazed at what they did in 1928, because of the lack of technology. But in the end, I sort of flashed back to Top Gun and what we did in 1985, whenever it was. It was almost equal. It almost equaled itself out because we had the state of the art in terms of technology, and we got more different stuff to what they got then. But what they got then with the very simplistic cameras and equipment was brilliant.
Wellman used Harry Perry, the best of the best in directors of photography of the day. They had many discussions on the look of the film and used the best cameramen.
You can't make a good picture unless you've got beautiful writing anyway. I don't care who you are. That's the first thing you got to get. Then you got to get a hell of a cameraman and a guy who likes you and you like him. He knows how you want things, and I know, he's your right arm.